The most exciting stage of the Tour de France opening week, Pogacar and Remco throwing haymakers at the other GC contenders. This was the feared, anticipated gravel stage. 14 sectors over 200 kilometers, over 30 kilometers of gravel. The hilliest part of the course was in the middle, and then the last 50 Ks were flat into a bit of a headwind. Huge opportunity for world champion Mathieu van der Poel, as well as multiple-time Strade Bianche winner Tadej Pogacar. The breakaway formation, hard fought as expected. This was like Paris-Roubaix. This was from start to finish one of the best stages I've ever watched. Break goes, first sector, Bora doing a good job blocking it up, and you can see if you're at the back, if you're out of position into these gravel sectors, you can say good night. Zangler and Amaury, Healy and Pidcock trying to bridge across to the breakaway that had formed with Lascano, Romo, G, other strong riders. Perhaps Romo and Lascano should have waited and not pulled when Amaury was dangling off the back with Zangler. But anyway, Movistar, 3 in the break. Van Gils, Turgis in there. Paulus and EF probably did it a bit smarter. They dropped Paulus back to pull Healy across to that breakaway, and eventually it was formed. Super strong, Lutsenko, all these rouleurs. These chasse patates, though, were informative. Look at Ballerini in Sector 2. Look at his back wheel fishtailing. This group would never make it, but that was informative that Visma, they're on the correct side. UAE enter on the deep gravel side, and Tadej Pogacar has to take evasive action quickly, moves over to the right-hand side in front of, I think, Carlos Rodriguez, and Visma shred this peloton. 131 Ks to go, second sector. If you got stuck on the left side of this gravel, all over. Riders split behind, groups everywhere. Bart Lemon pacing, whilst Primoz Roglic is the biggest name to miss it. Ayuso also caught behind. Pogacar, Rodriguez, Remco, Vingegaard, they all make it in front. But for Bora, the chase, it looked like it was going okay, but then Quickstep and Ineos put Turner and Moscon. Kelderman was also pacing. Hindley blows up, and suddenly Roglic has to panic close the gap himself. We were wondering, how is that gap going down so quickly all of a sudden? The answer was Primoz Roglic having to close it himself. Was that foreboding for the future? Next, hilly sectors, UAE take over. We've seen what you can do, Visma Melissa bike. We can go one better. Wellen starts smashing, and then disaster strikes for Visma Melissa bike. Vingegaard looks down at his bike, or his rear wheel. He's had a flat, quickly gets on the radio whilst UAE are sending, and you can see there's gaps, and the tell is that Christophe Laporte has dropped back on the right hand side. That means the big boss has had a problem. Luckily for him, there's a rider exactly his and my size in the team, Jan Tratnik, and that ain't his bike. You can see the name on it and the number. Tratnik's given his bike to Vingegaard. If he wasn't there to do that, could have been minutes behind for Vingegaard, because it was still a big peloton at that moment. I had no idea where the cars were. Next sector, Pogacar, I don't know if this was instinct or wanting to be in front for a fast descent. He gets told on the radio, you're in front, I've let your wheel go, and the Israel rider just behind him, he's not as confident on the descent. And Pogacar, by the way, he attacked in one strata this year with a descent attack. And maybe this is that again. Maybe he just wanted to be in front for the super fast descent on the narrow roads into the town, and suddenly he's got a gap. Remco Evenepoel reacts. Vingegaard is not in his wheel. It's Jorgensen and Laporte, and Laporte's thinking, hold on, we don't have the right man in this group. Pogacar and Remco start relaying, and Ineos save the day for Rodriguez and Vingegaard. So Pogacar's gone, splits are everywhere, Vingegaard's on the wrong bike, and now we have the longest, hardest uphill sector of the day, and another man jumps. Remco Evenepoel joins the party, and no one reacts. Open space comes to the left. Vingegaard has to sit down on the saddle. Is Pogacar going to counter? It doesn't come uphill at that moment. Evenepoel, like on Redoute, looks super strong over the top. Pogacar then counters on the flatter section of the gravel afterwards, but he's got a familiar man in his wheel who was nagging his wheel all day just about. Vingegaard going across to Evenepoel, and with 76 Ks to go, the three big favourites for this race are ahead of Roglic, and Vingegaard refuses to pull. He elects to wait for his teammates behind, much to Remco Evenepoel's annoyance. They get across to the breakaway, which is a disaster if you're a break rider. The last thing you want is GC riders joining you, because everyone else is going to chase them, so they immediately counter-attack. Remco sits up, and it's like they were never there in the break. The same break goes ahead up the road. Next sector, we see Romo having trouble in the gravel. Remco enters in deep position compared to Visma and UAE, and that becomes a problem. You can see them running wide in that corner. There's deep gravel. See how deep it is where Remco, I'm not sure if he crashed or just caught up. Luckily for him, Visma were kind of in defensive mode, and Van Aert was riding tempo on the front, and Remco was able to come back easily. He was also one of the strongest riders in the race, Remco, so he would have come back anyway, but it was counter-attack time. If the riders in the GC group wanted to win the stage, like Van der Poel and Binihu and Matthews who'd been sitting in, it was their time to go. Unfortunately for them, they brought Fulsang and Costa, and they got teammates up the road. So they sit on the back, they got Healy and G up the front, and so that really never gets too close to the breakaway. The last few flat sectors, Pogacar senses weakness in Vingegaard, in Roglic, in everybody, and maybe even wants to go for the stage. Wellens leads him out, then Laporte and Vingegaard go over the top of him. That prompts a pretty quick reaction from Pogacar, who attacks into deep gravel again on the right-hand side. Look at Vingegaard's back wheel. It starts to buck all over the place, and he cannot follow not only Tadej Pogacar, but his teammates. For the second time today, Laporte looks around and sees the right man is not on his wheel. Jorgensen goes across to Pogacar. Laporte begins to bring Vingegaard across, and then gets on the radio and says, "I'm done, Matteo Jorgensen, time for you to drop back." Jorgensen drops back, and then just about nightmare scenario, Tadej Pogacar going clear up the road. What an attack from him all day, uphill, on the flatter sections, on the deep gravel, going for it, dropping anybody every time he wanted just about. He's brought back by Matteo Jorgensen. And again, Visma Lease Bike won't relay. In the breakaway, they begin to counter each other. G, Lutsenko and Sturven with the experience times it right, goes clear with no one reacting. I thought he'd gone up the road. And what a stage from a GC perspective. Pogacar goes again, Remco counters, the big guns attacking, Vingegaard on the ropes trying to defend, Pogacar going hell for leather. Unbelievable stage. And like I said, normally the Group 2s, when someone's so strong clear up the road, they begin to play, but G attacking and Healy countering, in effect, brought back Jasper Stuyven, and with 900 metres to go, he must have been very surprised and disappointed to see suddenly he'd been caught. Healy goes, Aaron Baru and Terzius jockeying for his wheel. G jumps early, Terzius picks the right wheel, comes out of it, and Total Energy, with their best rider, second in Sanremo before, take their first Tour de France stage in 7 years. Huge win for Terzius, ahead of Pidcock, G, Aaron Baru, Healy, Lutsenko, Romo, Sturven, Biniam, and Michael Matthews. GC somehow largely unchanged, despite the top 5 knocking lumps out of each other all stage. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you at the recap of stage 10 on Tuesday. Until then, ciao.